Damon, how are you doing today?
Good. Tell me what's going on, my friend.
So the car came into the shop yesterday. We drove it over here. It was misfired really bad on the way over here. Got it in the shop, but it was running. I pulled the spark plugs out just to check them out, cleaned them up, put them back in. We fired it back up, and I noticed as we were looking down through the back of the engine, the catalyst was cherry red.
Mm-hmm.
First, I thought it might be plugged up, but then it was misfiring, so it's like it's dumping raw fuel into the catalyst. I'm not exactly sure which it was. I don't think the catalyst plugged up.
Okay.
And then after we shut it off, let it cool off, and it would not restart. And it had a code on it that it was misfiring on number one cylinder. And right now, when I try to start it, it acts like it's tried to run on one cylinder. It goes up to about 600 RPM, 650, but as soon as I let off the starter, it runs for like 2 seconds and then dies.
Okay.
But I know I have spark on all 4 cylinders.
Okay. So your question to me is, what could be causing this? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have we tried to run it on starting fluid?
I did give it a shot. It acts like it floods it out even worse.
Okay. So, and you could always disable the fuel system or unplug the fuel injectors and see if that helps. If not,
actually, I did pull the fuse out of the fuel pump.
Okay.
And then it doesn't fire at all.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's flooding out or if it's not getting anything.
Right, I got you. So what you'll need to do is then, if it's got spark and it doesn't run on starting fluid, usually this means either it's flooded or it's out of time. So when we disable the fuel system, I think that's what you had just indicated. You disable the fuel system and see if it runs on starting fluid. And if it still doesn't run on starting fluid, you can pull the plugs, make sure they're clean, make sure that you can even put some oil down the cylinders in case you think it's really flooded. Put everything back together. But if it still doesn't run with the fuel system disabled on starting fluid, that means it's out of time. So then at that point, I would recommend you could check compression while the spark plugs are out, or you could check the timing. You could check the timing marks, make sure the timing belt is in good shape, make sure that the marks are right where they should be.
Actually, I've done both. It's got good compression up about 150.
Okay.
All 4 cylinders. I've pulled the valve cover off, pulled that top cover off to make sure when it's a number one cylinder top dead center, the camshaft lines up perfectly.
Okay. All right. So then if that's the case, then have you adjusted the valves by chance?
Adjusted the valves?
Yes, sir.
No idea. I have not.
So on Hondas, valves need to be adjusted. I think it's like every 30,000 miles. And a lot of times people forget about this. And then therefore it causes all sorts of problems. They can flag rich codes, lean codes. It can run rough. It could run rich. It can burn a valve. And if the timing is on, but it's still not really, it still won't fire with, it has spark, bright blue spark at the right time, but doesn't run on starting fluid. Maybe the valves are that out of adjustment. That would be a possibility, I suppose.
Okay, I guess I did not know that. I didn't know you could adjust the valve. I thought it was where hydraulic lifters.
So Hondas and Acuras
runs right off the rollers, right off the can.
No, you can adjust these ones.
Okay.
Yeah, Hondas and Acuras. Yeah, this is a big problem with Hondas and Acuras that people just don't adjust the valves for whatever reason, and causes all sorts of problems. Let's see here. I'm just looking it up real fast here.
So I'm trying to figure out a way. I've had the fuel rail off. I've had the injectors out. I've looked at them. As a matter of fact, I hooked them up to a battery to make sure they're working. But I can't figure out how to check the fuel pressure. I can't read it on my scanner because it doesn't show me any fuel pressure. But
right.
There's no way to check it either.
Right. So you'd have to actually tee in a fuel pressure gauge to the fuel line going up to the fuel rail if you wanted to check pressure. But if it were a fuel pressure problem, it would run no problem on starting fluid, right?
That's true, exactly.
So
I bet it's the valves or sort of adjustment.
yeah, so I wouldn't. I mean,
The only time I had it running when it was ice cold.
Oh, okay.
I got it started and it was running like shit, but it would run.
I gotcha. Yeah. You might want to start there. I mean, there's some other advanced tactics that we could go after. However, you may want to just adjust the valves first. Usually, they don't cause a no start condition, but if it's they're really far out, you can do a cranking vacuum test. If you just block off the throttle body airtight and some of the vacuum hoses and lines, and the only thing that's you would hook up would be a vacuum gauge. So when you crank it, within a couple of seconds, this thing should hit double digits, and that's how you know that it's in time and the engine is breathing good and the valves are adjusted. But if it's not, if it doesn't hit double digits within a few seconds of cranking, then we got a mechanical issue with the engine. And we know it's not an ignition system issue. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what I don't understand is I drove it over here from, I don't know, about a quarter mile away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was running. It was running like shit. And I haven't done anything but clean spark plugs.
Right.
I did check the building injectors out, look at them to make sure. And they looked clean. I mean, they didn't look like they were messed up. And like I said, when I hooked it to a battery, it clicked and just spit a little fuel out, whatever was in the injector.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure they work.
Right. Okay.
And when I hook my voltmeter to them, I have 12 volts at the injector.
Right. I gotcha. The distributor.
I bet you it is the valve.
Yeah, the distributor does go bad quite often. That's something to consider. But again, I would go after the valves first.
Did it spark on all 4 spark plugs if that was the case?
Well, it could be A, it could be weak spark. B, it could be out of time. The spark could be, the valve timing could be correct, but the ignition timing could be out of time. You could always, I forget on this one, if you pull the distributor cap, if there's like a little screw that holds in the rotor, make sure that screw didn't come out. Sometimes on some of these, we've had the screw, that holds the rotor in place. It comes out and the rotor will turn on the shaft. So it'll still have spark, but it'll have spark at the wrong time. So just check that.
Okay, yeah, I took the cap off and I tried to pull that rotor off. I couldn't pull it off.
So okay.
But I didn't go any further.
Okay.
I didn't want to break it.
Right.
I mean, it looks like it's got good spark on the plugs. I even hooked the timing light to it yesterday.
Right.
When it was running and misfired to make sure I was getting it in all 4 cylinders, and it was. That's why I thought it wasn't the injector. That's why I pulled the injectors out, because I assumed it was an injector, but that wasn't the case.
Right. Sometimes the ignition switch goes bad on these vehicles, causing low voltage on some of the other components. So you could always check for low voltage on some of the components under the hood. You could check low voltage in and out of the ignition switch using a voltmeter.
Well, the scanner said everything's got 12 volts on it, and I did check the volts on the map sensor and the mass airflow sensor. I got 5 volts coming in, 2.5 coming back, and as I crank the engine, that voltage drops.
Okay.
Which I think is correct.
Right.
So where are you going to post that on?
So I can reply back to our chat here online, and you'll get it here in just a few moments after we get off the phone, and then you can take a look at it. Let me know if you have any questions and reply back online if you have any questions.
Okay. All right, that should work.
All right, my friend. Well, good luck, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.